Stand for the pledge of allegiance, please. Pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, roll call.
Patterson? Yep. Henderson here, Shaw absent, Simpson absent, Sled?
Here.
Lucky?
Here. Okay, so agenda, we have an addition, so a modification. We'll insert in between 7 and 8, we'll have a new 8. It'll be 22755 Barrow Street. And then we'll just make the other ones 9, 10, 11, and 12. Any discussion?
Motion to approve the agenda as amended.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. So moved. Okay, approval of minutes from September 5th meeting.
Motion to approve notes as presented.
Voluminous as they were.
Yeah, I was gonna say that. I'm not surprised Becky didn't pick a bigger font.
Second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye, so moved. Okay. So now we're just site plan at 74020 Fulton Street. You have in front of you a letter of intent by James Goulet. Gullet. I'm confused with your drawing. So, you've got some draft paper that shows the front and the rear of the building. It doesn't label which one is which, but the front has the glass in the corner. So we're gonna have 2 overheads on the front,
Yes,
and you're planning on having 3 overheads in the back?
yes. But the ones in the back, they'll only have 2 windows in them, and then there'll be solid doors, but the ones in the front will be all glass.
And how big will these doors be?
10 by 10.
So what is a classic car?
One of them is a 73 Pontiac Granville, it's the old pace car from Mount Clemens Racetrack. It was at the Autorama year before last. Another one is a newer Camaro, she drives in the summer. And then I've got 3 Monte Carlos.
Okay. So these aren't race cars or cars that you're gonna go and make a lot of noise tuning the engines?
No, the only time we'll be in and out of the building is, well, the race cars, the only time they'll be moved is like 5 times a year, and that would be on a Saturday afternoon when we're leaving,
Mhm.
but they wouldn't be, there'll be no dynos or nothing like that.
Okay.
Are they driven out or are they being trailered out?
Trailer out. I've got a 45-foot enclosed, and I've got a 28-foot enclosed, and I've got a new dually pickup and a regular GMC pickup, 3/4 ton.
So the big trailers you'll have to load in the street, correct? Because you're not gonna be able to pull them into that site. You might be able to back the shorter trailer with the.
Yeah, the short one we can use. But if we load in the street, it'd be 5 or 10 minutes, it won't be.
So, unbeknownst to me, that used to be, it was built as a gas station, and the back of the building, used to have overhead doors, and it was actually, it was actually 3 bays of a car wash. But it did have doors, so in the ordinance it states that you're not supposed to have a commercial building with overhead doors facing residential. But the residential that it's facing is a multiple, is an apartment complex by usage. And the planning commission can deviate from the ordinance, so.
Very rarely will the back doors be used.
Well, and I think correct me if I'm wrong, but didn't you tell me in our meeting that you weren't gonna do anything commercially or work on
No.
anybody else's vehicles?
No,
This is all
We're
your own
not,
stuff?
yeah, this is
So
ours.
it's really just kind of a,
It's Jay Leno's garage, about 1%.
excuse me?
It's Jay Leno's garage, about 1%. I have no kind of money like Jay Leno.
Well, I'm glad you can afford the garage that you're hoping to get, so. The intensity of usage is very minimal. So the only thing that I could say, again, I don't know, then I'll turn it over to the other planning commission members, is you got a church right across the street and a multiple use, or a multiple dwelling right behind you. So again, if there's any kind of, and there is a noise restriction in the village.
Noise, odors.
So, other than that,
The church is more than welcome to park there on Sundays, or
Oh.
Saturdays, whatever day they,
The cars will not be moved on a Sunday morning.
no,
okay.
under no circumstance.
Well, and I'm not even saying anything about moving them. I'm, the only thing I'm kind of even mentioning this for is a noise factor. So if there's kind of really, and the reason I'm bringing this up, because there was a guy that had a mechanic shop, and he was into racing cars, and on the weekend, he would work on his car, and I live probably about 800 feet from that building, and he'd be over there, revving up his car, tuning it up. So as long as we don't have that kind of activity, you know.
No. You won't have that.
Okay, any other questions?
We got winch in the trailer, most of the time we do like that, but if we come out of the building and the car's running, the only place it's going is in the trailer. That'd be the extent of it.
Definitely not on a Sunday, cause we
No,
race
yeah.
Saturday
Well,
night.
do you drive these cars on the street?
No,
Okay. So are they street legal cars?
no.
Okay, so they are race cars?
The 3 Monte Carlos, but the Pontiac and the Camaros are 100% street cars.
Oh, okay, so they are, you do have some street
Some.
cars?
Yes, yes.
But they're not with glass packs and all that kind
No,
of stuff, it's
no.
just, we take them to the shows and I. do
Matter of
it
fact, the
every
oval
summer.
track cars, they have mufflers on them. I wish they didn't, but they do. They cost a lot of horsepower,
Oh, yeah,
The
sure
restriction.
does.
yes. All racetrack nowadays, oval tracks have the muffler rule, but it's been that way since '73.
Oh, my goodness, wow. I can remember going to oval tracks and not being able to hear for a day.
Now NASCAR still don't have mufflers, but everybody else does.
And our class only runs 4 and 5 times the year through the summer.
So where do you work on your cars?
We'll work on them inside of here.
Okay, so, but then to work on a car, aren't you gonna have to run the car?
No. No. Our motors, we get crate motors from General Motors, and they're all assembled, and all you do is put them in there.
Yeah, but don't you have to tune them?
Yes, but that would be inside the building if we did.
Okay. Well, it's a 70 decibel rating at the lot line. So other than that,
These
Risky?
cars aren't real loud.
No,
You
like I
know,
say,
it's not.
they all have mufflers on them.
Yeah.
I wish they didn't, but they do.
Well, you
Our
know, the way-
grandbaby can sleep through it running.
So the garage, you'll run the exhaust through the garage doors then, you know, the flex line through the doors?
If that's needed, but
Well, yeah, but other than that, then you'll have to set it on top, but you either have to get the door with the connection already built in, or you're gonna have to then just close it, right, so it just kisses it. Which I was gonna bring it up, cause then if it's a noise thing, that's where you're gonna get it from then, so.
you won't have no noise problem.
Christie?
I got nothing.
I've cut the grass there twice already,
It's not gonna be where you
and I
have.
picked up all the garbage that was around there. It's not my building yet, but I still cut the grass twice and picked up all the garbage and swept the sidewalk and
So what are you gonna, so just kind of a curiosity thing, so you're gonna have the front doors as, that are glass, so you're gonna kinda have, this is more of a display thing, so, if you've got glass, you want people to see inside.
well, they'll see the old pace car and they'll see the Camaro, but they won't see the race cars.
Okay, well, I'm just kinda, and then, so you're gonna kind of make that as a nicer display area? so-
Yes, now the front room, we're gonna put soapbox derby cars in there and model cars, you know, our personal.
Oh, wow, really?
And
You
then,
might wanna talk to the guy in the corner, cause he was talking about soapbox derby cars and stuff.
yeah, my brother's heavy in the soapbox.
Oh,
In Mount Clemens, there's 88 soapbox, he built 66 of them, and he wins
Wow.
every year. But he will tell you, he'll build you a car to run second. Don Gooley, when he owned the Cadillac dealership and
He
things
always
like
builds the
short,
one for, run first.
his car wasn't competitive at all, so Tommy told him point blank, Don, I'll fix your car so you run second. So sure enough, that year he ran second. He takes it to Livoni, the guy charges him $3,300 to rebuild his car. He ran, out of 88 cars, he was like 60th.
Oh, my God.
Tommy told him, he said, boy, that guy Livoni really knows what he's doing. Chrysler flew a car from Auburn Hills to California, put it in the wind tunnel in California. Why they didn't use the one here, I don't know. And Tommy went to Flint the night before the race, and they had a soapbox in the box, built that car, and all the Chrysler execs is laughing at my brother, and weren't laughing the next day. Tommy blew her doors off. New Haven had a race one year, and they told my brother not to come up there. He went. He had no intention of going up there, but because they told him he couldn't, he went. Then he was really mad.
They didn't want the competition, huh?
They won so many races in Pinewood Derby, they put his, Macomb Mall used to have Pinewood Derby races. They put it, run his car backwards one year, he still won.
Okay. That's how you know you got the right balance, right?
Is there a dumpster there?
No.
Say, was there one? I was looking at the photos too, I didn't know it.
There has been.
There had to have been one from before, but.
Yeah, there has
What
been.
little bit of garbage we have, I'll haul back to Mount Clemens. I got a big dumpster in Mount Clemens.
What about outside lighting?
That's my next one.
I'd like to have a little bit.
You can have outside lighting, it just can't, protrude into the neighborhood,
No, I
or,
would,
into the neighboring lots.
probably just the down.
Yeah, so it's kind of.
I think there's one on there already.
Yeah, I think there's one on the front of the
One in
building.
the front
And then, I don't know,
There's
There's one
small
on the
ones,
back,
over-
too.
we've got small ones over the doors right now,
I would keep
like
those.
porch lights.
Yeah.
I can't tell what that's up at the top near the.
Yeah, I don't know what
the
that ring
peak.
is.
Yeah, it looks like, I don't know if that's supposed to be
I wanna say that that is a light up there because it had bees nests in it.
well, there's, where the overhead doors are, there's lights, for those are walk-in doors. So the double doors,
so there's a light in the front, okay.
I'm talking about in the back,
And then the back, yeah, you see, yeah, at the peak, you definitely got lights above each of the doors.
yeah.
And then it
But
looks like
those
something
will be
top.
gone.
Well, one of them will be gone, right?
No, he's gonna have 3 doors, so.
Oh, I thought he said only one door.
lighting under the awning.
Yeah, it looks like there might be lighting
I
on.
think-
Anyway, whatever you do, that, just as long as the light doesn't go into the neighbor's yard, you're okay. Or into traffic going, down Fulton Street or on Torrey. Fulton Street's more of an important thing with Tory too when you come to the stop sign. So then you're gonna have to, upon the, our approval, you'll have to get what about signage? You gonna have any kind of a sign?
I like to have the old one that was up on top, but, it's still there, just put my emblem on it.
Oh, what kind of sign is there now?
They painted
What's
over
there
it.
now?
That's the old shelf.
Yeah, it used to
Fine.
say shell, but then it said something else underneath. The sign's still there, they just painted over it.
Oh, you're talking about the awning?
No, up top.
I'm on the
No,
chimney
That-
the
part.
Century
Trees up.
21 marker.
Very, at
is
the
up
very
there.
top.
Oh,
That
where the central one.
Wall-like thing that protrudes out. That used to be the shelf sign.
Oh, okay, on the big smokestack?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So what are you gonna have on your sign? What are you gonna call it? What are you gonna,
Should they call it? Racing?
Jimmy's Hideaway?
No. Oh, that's another thing, there'll be, at no time, ever, there'll be no alcohol, there'll be no smoking, there'll be no, nothing, ever.
Okay,
That's our first rule of, nothing worse than a kid that his favorite race car driver, after the races, he runs down there, he's got beer in his hand. That don't get it.
But our sign would just say Jim and Gullet Racing up there.
okay.
If it can go up
And
there,
then-
if not, we would like it on the awning,
Mhm.
Uh,
I don't know if they're.
When we're done, I would have like a grand opening for, you know, we have hot dogs and hamburgers and not,
You know, if
we
anybody
wouldn't
wanted
advertise
to.
it or nothing.
Mhm.
It'd just be a big cookout.
Yeah, Sounds good. Okay, any other questions? What do you think about the doors? We can,
Mhm.
make a decision on the door because of the usage. Christie?
But again, it's replaced, yeah, it's putting the 2 roll door back and only 1 in the back.
There's 3 doors.
Right, but the other 2, this one here says, and 1 on the back closest to the street, he's got the, it's circled,
Yeah.
meaning the
So
other 2 stay.
So how many doors total are you gonna have? 3 or
I like
5?
5.
So, okay.
Yeah,
So that's,
my
it's different
picture,
than your
it's different than
proposal.
the write-up.
Your letter says.
Yeah, your letter says you're gonna have 2 and 1.
On the prints, it's got,
Well, that's why I asked, because the picture
Yeah, the
has it
pictures,
circled.
but the doors in the back
But your sketch.
will be
yeah.
solid doors, except there'll be 2 rows of windows, they won't be, you know, that's mainly for lighting and heat expense.
All of them in the back will only have 2?
Yes,
Okay.
there'll be steel doors, you know, like a factory door, except they'll have 2 rows of windows in them.
Mhm.
If the weather's still nice, we'll have the driveway sealed this year, if not, we'll wait till spring. But I'd rather do it now.
okay, so then again, so I'm gonna, have you kind of, modify your letter that you submitted, so, cause your letter said that you only have 3 doors, so, and assuming we're gonna approve you this evening, once that approval is done, then you'd have to do, if you're gonna do any construction, you're gonna need a building permit, and after the building permit, same guy that issues the building permit and does the inspections, will also do a certificate of, give you a certificate of occupancy upon completion. So you need to do all those things, prior to moving in. And then, since you don't really have a signage plan or a lighting plan, the building inspector, Dennis Dennis Lemieux, you can take those issues up with him and, just kind of do it as you go.
Very good.
Now, the guy who puts in the doors, wouldn't he pull the permit on that?
Well, I imagine you're gonna do some work inside the building, so.
Yeah, for car storage, because if it's not something for offices and
Yeah,
whatnot, it's not
mhm,
gonna.
yeah, so you're gonna need to pull, building permit. The best thing to do is to, once this is finalized, is to get with Becky in the morning, and, she can get Dennis to give you the information that you need.
To get the roof fixed, well, I need a permit for that.
Roof fixed how?
There's a couple spots that was leaking and they had to, around the chimney there, they gotta put new aluminum or.
But reflash it.
Yeah, reflash.
Do they have
That
to
would-
use any wood, but that would be the building inspector.
But so I can't answer for the building inspector, but I've asked similar questions for things that I've done, and to do a repair like that, no. But if you're gonna do structural stuff, then yes.
Any wood in the roof, any wood has to be replaced, it requires a permit. But there is one condition to this approval. He has to show me proof of ownership, because he has not bought it yet.
Okay.
So why do we need that?
Because how could we approve him for business in somebody else's building?
What if you just rent it?
Then he'd have to,
And there's an
but
agreement.
she hasn't signed.
Okay. So it would be a conditional approval.
Correct.
We do have a purchase agreement, it's just not signed as yet.
I would either, and
Yeah,
I
that's-
explained this to your husband, he either should have gotten me a letter from her saying that, you know, that the intent is that
Mhm.
she's okay with him coming to us because he's planning on buying the building. If the sale falls through, she'd retain the building, or have her sign this thing, so those didn't happen, so I need one of those before our approvals are gonna be final.
So we would still make the motion this evening, it would just be contingent on. So then you produce that documentation, everything's good.
And it's fine, right?
Yeah.
We're good with that?
What do you get, because we have a full purchase agreement.
I would need a letter, are you,
I'm the
Mr.
realtor.
Burkle?
He's the realtor.
Oh, I would need something from the owners of the building, either saying that, they are okay with him with this plan, because he's gonna lease the building, or he is going to purchase the building.
He's
upon-
purchasing the building.
I understand that that's the plan,
Mhm.
but that could change tomorrow.
Yep.
So I can't give him permission tonight to do something in the building that I don't know he has permission to do yet.
Right, yeah. Well,
That's
he
what I
can't-
need.
But he can't do anything till we close.
But again, I can't, that's gotta be part of his conditional approval. So he's gonna have to show me that he purchased the building,
Right.
or get a letter from them saying that they're allowing him to use the building, one or the other.
So
Okay,
there should be no problem, because if you can't do anything until you purchase the building, come in with the paperwork, and you're good to go on our
so we
side.
have the closing, and we can bring the paperwork.
Correct.
Exactly, yeah,
Which you need to bring it to the village office anyway.
yeah.
Okay, that's no problem.
It's just another of those dotting the i's and crossing the t's.
Yeah, no problem. Doesn't
No, it
need-
really isn't even a time setback, other than whatever time it takes you to get from there to go.
Sounds good.
Okay, so, any further discussion? Thanks, Becky.
Mhm.
Motion to approve with condition of, I think the easiest thing to do is just say, bring in your purchase agreement, or your closing statement after
Proof of
you,
ownership.
proof of ownership, there we go, thank you.
Alright, so moved.
Christie? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Congratulations, Jimmy,
Thank you.
Thank you.
it's like pulling teeth. Okay, cool, okay, so, hopefully you close soon, and, oh yes, so you get to come up and, change this. We're gonna do some, signing stuff. We do have a condition, my pen's not working too good, I'll borrow one. gonna let you write that in
Okay.
there. Your penmanship is much needed than mine. Okay, so how many of these we got? We got enough?
Oh, yeah, I got plenty.
Okay, so this one I signed, but this one I've got, we can use this one, can't we?
Yeah.
Or not? Okay, so, you wanna come up here and, okay, I call you Vinnie?
Yes, I've read them.
Okay, so where you have the one door in the rear, change that to 3. Same thing here and then initial.
Do you own a business in Armada?
We do.
Just that
Where
one,
that one.
that one.
That's,
Same thing
I'm
here.
between Grashit and Groesbeck,
Oh, okay.
Jim's Industrial Catering.
Oh, okay. I'm
Christie,
I'm
can I know
actually
your
down
name?
there a lot. I actually moved from
Thanks.
Roseville to Armada like 8
Oh.
years ago, so.
I grew up out here.
Oh, okay. We flip flopped. So do you live in this area now, still?
No,
Oh.
my sister lives out here.
Oh, okay.
And my dad just passed away and
Oh,
he was out here all of his life.
oh, okay.
But we live in, Clinton Township.
1, 2,
Okay.
2, so you've got-
Okay, so then you get to sign that one down here where it says applicant, right here, yep.
He's always
Oh,
lived
this
out
is the
here.
wrong one.
Go back and forth.
Yeah,
With that one.
This
my
is the
dad's a
other
big
one.
car guy. He's got
This is
a
her.
Model T, a Model A.
Oh,
Range
oh,
Rover.
okay, sorry.
That's okay,
Of
that one.
course.
So that one,
They're actually
And this
looking to
one.
move out here. He wants a pole barn to store all his cars.
And
what?
So they're all over the place right now.
oh,
Yeah, that's what,
no,
You're,
I was getting ahead of myself.
actually,
Your
my
pen?
Underneath.
and dad's
Down.
garage right
This same
now.
place,
Oh,
right
yeah,
here.
right there, yep.
Yeah.
Yes. He bought the ranchero last. My mom said it's just a ticket waiting to happen.
You want 2?
I want 2, 1 for me, 1 for
Okay,
Dennis,
so
and
then
he gets 1.
you can have, so you didn't sign this one, so you can have that one, right? That's your copy.
Okay, all right, we're still signing.
Okay, all right.
Your pen.
Congratulations.
Thank you,
Okay.
thank you very much. Thank you,
You're welcome.
thank you,
Oh, you're welcome.
thank you very much.
Okay. Good luck, hopefully everything goes smoothly.
I hope so.
If we need welding, we'll come get you.
Did they tell you I stopped by the other day? You had just went to lunch.
Oh, no,
I knew they wouldn't, but I told them.
Yeah, right.
Thank you again.
Thank you.
Okay, all
Have a
right,
good night.
thank you.
Good night.
Okay, so moving along. Where are we at here? That's September. There we go, okay. So site plan for 23061 East Main Street Studio. And Jamie Fondale,
Fodell.
Fordell? Okay. Maybe you could kinda tell us a little bit of what's going on?
Sure. I'm a photographer. I'm a professional photographer. I have been for about 15 years. We moved from Roseville to Armada 7 or 8 years ago. We have 2 older boys. They're at the middle school and high school. We moved here for the schools. And then we had a daughter, surprised us. She's only 3, so our boys are 10 and 12 years older. So it was never the right, I had a studio in Roseville on Grashit for about 6 years. That's where my husband and I grew up, and we, bought our first house. And when we moved out here, I kept it for a couple of years, but it just wasn't ever the right time to open a new studio. So now's the right time, and it's the perfect space.
Cool.
I
Well-
work mainly on location. It's mainly going to be like a meeting place. I prefer to be outside in the natural light. It's nice to have somewhere in the winter in Michigan, but it's going to be mainly to like schedule ordering appointments and pick up orders, stuff like that. But
Well-
I prefer to shoot on location.
I'm sorry, I interrupted you.
Oh no, that's okay. I just said I prefer to shoot outside on location. Natural light is my favorite.
So you're building request is in a C1 district that doesn't have any parking requirements.
Okay.
We didn't say anything about parking, but the last applicant, he's not really gonna have anything.
No, but even if he did, we know what it was, yeah, what it was set up for the other businesses anyway, so.
It would be kind of the same thing as we talked about with the last applicant, so it'd be a signage thing, so you don't really have anything in your,
What's lettering on the doors?
oh, okay, vinyl lighting, okay, yeah.
And actually, we were also thinking, there's 4 windows, we were thinking about vinyl lettering the top of the windows, not the main big part, we'd like to keep those clear.
Okay, that being said, you can have 10% of your first floor facade. So
Okay.
whatever that calculation is, that's the maximum your signage could be.
Okay.
And then,
There's
what
not
kind of
really-
lighting, are you gonna have exterior lighting? I don't know what's on the building.
I don't think there's really any, no. Just the street lights, I don't think,
I don't think there was anything.
no.
I don't,
I was there tonight, there wasn't.
Yeah, there's nothing on now, but I don't think there's anything on the building.
I don't think there was any, yeah.
Okay.
There's
Well,
not
and
really
then what
room
do
to
you-
put
so-
much because of the 2 bay windows above.
Mhm.
So there's not really a whole lot of space to even put a sign, I mean, outside.
Well, I'm
That's
not
why-
talking about sign, I'm just lighting.
Well, the lighting too, cause the big bay windows take up, they almost come down to, they're pretty low.
Yeah, but you can have lighting. Anyway, that being said, again, you're gonna have to, after approval by us, you'd have to get the building inspector out, and then he would kind of inspect the building and give you a certificate of occupancy upon approval of that inspection.
Okay.
So, any signage that you do, since we don't have a plan, you could finalize through him.
Okay.
Any lighting that you're gonna do, finalize through him.
Okay.
In your, I think, I read this, I'm not mistaken, you're gonna take trash home with you, isn't that the deal?
The
Landlord,
landlord has 3, he has apartments upstairs, so he cares for the trash, we're not gonna have much trash.
Okay, so he's got a dumpster out back?
He has 3 separate garbage cans.
Okay, all right, okay, and you can just use those?
Mhm.
Okay, so it's something that's already in existence?
Yeah.
Okay. So it fits in the C1 as far as zoning goes?
We won't have much parking, I mean, I have my car and my client's car, usually a family comes together, I mean,
Well, and there is some parking out back, isn't there?
we have 1 space.
One space,
Yeah,
so that's you.
yeah.
Christie?
Yeah, I'm good with this one.
Chris?
same.
If there was no discussion? Motion to approve as presented. Chris?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Well, to Armada.
Thank you.
So, the thing to do now would be, come and sign your life away.
Okay. Good, I've already done that with these.
I already did this one.
Yeah, that, give me that one,
Fine.
because that's with conditions.
Oh, I see, okay.
There you go.
So, Rhett, you get to sign that one, and this one, and this one,
And then I come tomorrow to you to,
Okay, yep.
that one. You can have this one, and you can have this one. And
so for the signage, I don't have to have anyone's approval except for Dennis when I meet.
When you do your certificate of occupancy, when he,
so you have to have it done for that. for
just, yes, tell him that we'll roll it all into one.
Okay.
So you'll have to have the vinyl lettering on the building or on the windows, or whatever you're gonna do, before he'll give you your certificate of occupancy if you roll it into one.
Okay,
If you don't roll it into one, you're gonna pay for 2 permits.
okay. And how much are the permits, 75?
Yes,
Okay.
so,
So the vinyl liner already has to be up before you approve it?
before, yes, well, he'll wanna see a drawing of it. So,
Okay.
just draw me your windows, put a size on your windows, and what you want it to say. What you're
Okay.
gonna have on there, and what size letters you're gonna use.
Okay,
Then have dimensions.
the dimensions are a big thing.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay,
You can always call me, I'll help you out.
okay, thank you so much.
Oh, you're welcome, good luck.
Thank you.
Okay, so 35 minutes gone, and we have ordinance review, sections 9 and 10.
First, you have to do 227.
Oh, I'm sorry,
Yeah,
okay, cool.
SALU.
Yep, so now we have 22755 Barrow Street. So that was something we approved last November. They have not done their construction project as anticipated yet, and they're just asking for an extension. So we can easily grant an extension of, is it a year or 6 months? 180 days, okay, so 6 months, okay. So, any discussion?
They haven't begun at all?
So it was a duplex, so somebody is living there, but both families are not, so.
So they have started construction and turning it into a home?
Cause this is the church thing that was.
Yeah, it was a church, yeah.
Was converted. They were gonna do two, she was gonna live in one, and then they would,
Yeah. Mhm.
but was Steve wasn't taking the other one, was he?
Mhm.
Was that one? Okay, okay, I do remember that. Alright. So as Chrissy said, it's partially done then.
Well, they didn't do any real construction to split it into a duplex, but
Yeah,
he
I
was
don't-
living there.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, I
She
don't think
has
they
got-
really
There's an
did.
occupancy of it, but it's
And-
not done the
Well, and
construction.
Dennis did a
Got it.
C of O, did check it to make sure that it was legitimately a living space.
For
either
two,
windows,
right.
Some blah, blah, blah.
Got it. Okay.
But the thing that they got approved for, they really haven't done that, so legitimately, they're doing the right thing by coming in for
Right.
an extension.
Alright, so what happens if they don't?
In
That's
6
where I'm
months
going
now,
with this,
they get the
right?
extension, they still don't do it.
Aren't we only grant one?
One extension, I
It's
believe.
one
For 6
extension, right?
months.
Yeah,
So if they
Then they have
understand.
to
that
restart the whole
this is it.
process all over again.
correct,
Correct.
yeah.
Okay.
But as long as they start, so if
Yeah.
kinda getting close to it, if they start, then they've got, a year to do construction, and they can get an extension on that.
Okay.
So, it's not the end of the world. We're not hard to get along with.
And no, I have no problem.
Chris?
Nah, it's fine.
That being said, motions?
Motion to approve the extension on 22755 Burrow Street
Application?
for application for 180 days.
Mhm. Chris?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, so moved. Okay, now 9 and 10.
I never thought of switching the public comment and the ordinance review.
Okay,
Until
go
just
ahead.
now- Until just now. So, you know. Like I said, when we were approving the agenda, I didn't even think of switching those two around.
No,
Along with bump, when we added number 8, we could have flipped 9 and 10 and got the public comment out of the way.
Oh, there's no.
I doubt public is gonna show up now.
I don't think so.
Anymore, unless Joe has got any more to say
Yeah.
Give me time,
with her green pen.
give me time.
Her green paper. Green expo.
Well, so 9 is, off-street parking and loading. So it's, a kind of big section, and I'm sure you guys came up with, a few things that you wanted to change, as I did. So you want to delve right into it?
Sure.
Okay, how about anything on page,
Thanks, Becky. Might have to just call that one my copy then. Thank you very much. And what do you know, turn right to it.
Okay, so how about page 9-1?
I don't have anything.
I didn't have anything on that one.
Christie? No, me neither. It was the only one I didn't have anything on. So 9-2. So basically, kind of, what I looked at, the ordinance says that, they're wanting to reduce the amount of parking, in the maximum, instance. So I can see their thing with the minimum, but the maximum, remember with Vinkiers, when they came in,
Yep.
they exceeded the maximum?
Mhm.
Go to that place now, if they wouldn't have, if we wouldn't allow
Yeah,
them
those
to
extra
exceed the
15 or
maximum,
whatever.
they would not have enough parking spaces. So, that being said, is how I looked at this ordinance. So,
Yeah, I didn't think about that one.
a lot of the instances, I looked at this ordinance and they're considering there's gonna be 3 to 4 people in a car. A lot of times there's gonna be 2 people in a car, and a lot of times there's only gonna be 1 person in a car. Sometimes there'll be a family of 3 or 4, but a lot of times there's just 1 or 2. So, that being said, that's how I looked at it. Doesn't mean that you guys have to, but, so in 9-2, in residential, I didn't do anything, anybody got anything to do with the first half of the page?
Mhm.
How about animal and agricultural uses? I don't have anything.
Oh, never mind. Yeah, no.
Under the maximum, it doesn't state that they can have employee parking.
A lot of it doesn't. I'm glad you brought that up, because a whole lot of it, well, that might change it, is the employee stuff. So if we go into residential uses, it says accessory apartments, bed and breakfast, inns, multiple family dwellings. And it says 1 per dwelling. I don't think I've ever lived in a house where it only had 1 car.
Well, and a bed and breakfast. You're only gonna have a single person guest?
Yeah, so I mean, so the 1 per dwelling is a minimum, okay, I can see that. But the maximum of 1.5, what, you gonna have what are you gonna have, 2 smart cars? So I think that should be at least 2.
At least,
And
and that's,
I don't know if that's good enough.
right,
So, a multifamily dwelling is gonna have 2 car spaces, a bed and breakfast is gonna have 2. I could see an accessory apartment having 1 or 2. I could see an accessory apartment only having 1, but
yeah.
possibly
Bed and breakfast,
2.
I don't.
But the bed and breakfast and multiple,
Right.
I don't see it at all.
Mm-mm.
So what do you wanna change that to? So it kinda, it's almost, if the bed and breakfast, how many rooms is there?
Right,
You know, I think it would be something like per room.
right,
And the multiple family dwellings, again, per occupancy.
It does say per dwelling unit, so, I mean.
Okay, yes, it does,
per
sure,
dwelling
yeah,
unit.
yeah.
So you'd have to include the owner in there too,
Yeah,
assuming they have. a
well,
car.
that would be a dwelling unit.
Mhm.
So how about 2 per dwelling unit? That's what I did,
Instead of 1.5.
correct. Christie?
seems low, but yeah,
Okay.
So, but again, so if you go to the back of the ordinance, it does say that the planning commission has the wherewithal to
Mhm.
alter things, if it's, so if you had a specific use
If
where you
we
needed
needed
to, you could expand,
Right.
as we did with Vinkers and really.
Yeah, but didn't it have a limit on that though, too?
I don't think so, I don't think so.
Okay.
Okay, so, so again, on the, single-family dwellings, right, the next thing, they had one per family dwelling. Other than somebody just starting out or somebody really old who has one car.
I'm really old and I have two.
You're not that old yet.
Oh, yes, I am.
No, you're not.
Please, make sure you get that on camera, Mom.
If you're that old yet, so am I. And I ain't claiming it.
Right.
Okay, so how about 2 and 4?
Mhm.
Chris, how many kids you got? 2?
4.
4. How many can drive at the same time?
All of them. Oh, we got 6.
6.
So you have 6 cars?
Mm-hmm.
How on earth do you get everybody in and out of the driveway?
Well, now the 3 are in college
Oh,
still, so.
The cars went with them.
So the cars are with them for now, so yes, there's 3 at right now, but,
Yeah.
at any given weekend, there could be 3 more around.
But
So
if-
yes, that's the nice thing about living on the corner
Yeah.
and having 100 or whatever, 215 feet on that side, so I can,
Well, at least you have parking in front of your house. I don't even have parking in front of my house.
yeah.
We're changing this to the minimum to 2. Are you saying that it absolutely has to have 2? Or if you only
Yes,
want one?
yes. Well,
Well, no,
yes, but I think if you're building a house or you're doing something, I think it's mandatory that you have at least 2 parking places with building a house.
but I would say that this seems to be in addition to, you build a home, you've got, let's say, your garage and your drive.
Mhm.
So theoretically, there could be, say it was a 2, that's 4.
Yes, so this does not,
Exactly, this is.
yeah, does not include the garage.
But it does say that in the
Plus,
maximum.
but plus any in the garage.
2 plus, okay.
Yeah, it's a plus.
So in the minimum, it's the same thing, it's that
Correct.
1 plus.
Yeah, plus. Yeah.
Okay. Which would technically give 2 spaces.
So does
So-
that, but does that work everywhere though?
Right, that's what I'm thinking in
It
a
works for
smaller
me or by me.
situation.
Yeah, what if you're, does it work if you're living on Fulton
Hmm.
or West, or Main Street?
I just think that the minimum should stay at 1 plus your garage accessory, but I can see saying 4, up to 4 maximum.
I'm easy. Chris?
So is that with the garage parking or without?
So that does not include the garage.
Does not
It's
include.
still
Does not
within
include the
spaces.
garage, yeah.
Okay.
So you would allow somebody to not build a garage, build a house, not build a garage and only have 1 parking space?
No, that's what I
No,
just said.
no,
It needs to
no,
say-
No. It's she's right.
I'm asking you, if you, it's not for what exists now, it's for what somebody's gonna build. So you would allow somebody to build a house, doesn't have a garage to it, and you'd only require them to have one parking space.
No,
Yes,
that's why I
yes,
said.
but
No,
garage.
There's no garage.
They're not
That's the part you're
required to
missing.
have a garage, so they can build a
So in the
house
maximum, why does it say plus spaces located in the
if they
garage?
have a
But
garage.
you don't have a garage.
But let's just say they build a house without a garage, they're not required to build a garage when they build a house. So they
Right.
wanna build a house, no garage, you're gonna allow them to only have 1 parking space in their yard.
If that's what they want.
A minimum
It's a
of
minimum,
one.
not a maximum.
I get it's a minimum,
If they don't want to, no,
They're
they
never
wouldn't
gonna have
to
company?
to.
Where are they gonna
Maybe
park?
not. Park in the neighbor's driveway. It's a minimum.
Park on the
setting.
street.
Yeah, but where Becky's going is,
It is a good point. I mean, I got
it's a
it,
very valid point, because if you're allowing that, what you're doing then is shifting that traffic to the street.
To something else.
And that's why I asked if it included the garage,
Yeah.
because
Right.
this house could have a garage and have the
Right.
additional parking
Right.
spaces allowed for it. This next door doesn't have a garage, and
My
Now
first
they
two
can only
houses
do
did not
one
have
car.
garages.
Yeah.
But it doesn't
So
have
you
to
just
be.
did the same thing when you changed only the maximum on the accessory apartments, bed and breakfast, multiple families. You did the same thing by leaving the one minimum per dwelling unit.
But in an apartment, you could only have,
For each unit, so.
It says per dwelling unit.
Yeah, so if it's an apartment, there's 10 of them, there's 10, the minimum's 10 then.
So bed and breakfast is not gonna have multiples for each room.
Yeah.
Accessory apartments, maybe,
You know,
you know,
it's
So
good
I
bed and
guess it-
breakfast, you drive your car, I'll drive mine,
it's like, yeah.
yeah.
meet you there. It could be a rendezvous.
it isn't for what
That's-
exists, it's for what could be built.
Well, the other one here too
There's
is talks
also-
about what changes.
It's also
Right,
for
there's
what
something that was
exists,
zoned before.
but you don't have to change something that's existing unless so
Yeah,
if you're modifying something
Right.
existing, you may have to update to the ordinance.
right.
But if you're not modifying something existing, you don't have to abide by the ordinance. The ordinance is if something is changed or if you're making something new. So you're not gonna make somebody come into, an existing bed and breakfast and make them put all this parking in. Not saying that we only have one approved bed and breakfast that I know of that never,
Never
Never
happened.
happened.
No.
Yeah.
Hmm. Single car garage.
and I think a house is different than an apartment.
Right, because each apartment wouldn't have its own garage anyway.
Correct. But a single-family house is more, how would you say that? More apt to have residents of longevity than somebody that's in an apartment or a multiple. A multiple would be a rental.
Well, and as you're saying too, and that's one of the ones that you're likely to have more than one vehicle in the first place.
In a,
In the multi-family one.
but I think it's single-family dwelling.
Yeah, exactly, so.
I don't care, what do you wanna do? Just-
Two
just move
per
it.
dwelling unit,
Okay,
and
Chrissy?
4 per dwelling unit, right?
okay.
And like you said though too, but it's, when it comes to building though, are we really gonna see, someone's building a house, we're not gonna see a plan for that.
Yeah, we would, sure we would. Be your driveway, Fritz had it on all his houses.
Cause he built a subdivision.
Yeah, but you're still gonna
Dennis
see
is
that.
still a bunch.
That's what I'm
Yeah.
saying, is Dennis gonna follow it then?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, cause a single family, we're not gonna see.
That's what I mean, that was my point, I would say a single family, now granted, when there was the lot splits, we've
Yeah.
done a few of them, and then, actually there was 2 lots in particular. We got to see part of it, but, the construction detail, we didn't see it yet, so. I have no issue with the 2 and 4, because quite frankly, I don't know anything that's not 2 already in general.
Yeah. I
I
would-
think there's only 8 buildable vacant
Yeah.
plots in town anyway.
Left.
Well, anymore, it's a kind of,
So you would be working with a subdivision.
$100,000 house, but a couple $100,000 house, it's not uncommon to have 3-car garages anymore. When you move up a little bit, then it's more garages. Anyway, how about, townhouses, 2-family duplex, family-owned daycare homes.
I have no issue with those, it basically
that one's tricky though, cause you could have multiple cars there at the same time, or dropping off, but for that short period, just to drop a child off or to pick a child up, but you could have them there all at the same time, say daycare closes at 3.
One per on-duty employee based on again plus for the space for the dwelling.
Right, it says plus required places anyway.
Yeah, that's true. I was thinking, so the last place, before we moved our facility, we had a place called Tutor Time in front. So you get the rushes.
Right.
Well, basically 3 times a day, right? The initial drop off, 7 to 8, so in the morning, 3, whatever in the afternoon, and then lunchtime.
Right.
And yeah, and you're gonna get 10, 12 hit at the same time, basically.
Depending how big it is.
Hmm. Yeah, I didn't think about that one. I thought about the family and group daycare. I was thinking of, oh God, what's the Griffith home?
The adult foster care.
That's what I was thinking of when I read that one. That's something, that one I didn't think of, and the other care.
And that one you get visitors occasionally, and
Yeah,
nursing staff and housekeeping staff. That one's a business.
mm-hmm. By the way, do we know where these came from in the first place?
I would say the planner just came up with that stuff off of, things that they had done before, or they got it off of some kind of a chart.
Okay. I wasn't sure if there was
That's
state
my
regs or
assumption.
something like that that they were copying out of.
I'm sure they did somehow.
Best practices, maybe.
Yeah.
Okay. So what do you think about the family and group daycare?
The only thing I could see is if you had a family group daycare, and they're doing, something with the employees and residents, what about visitors?
Yeah, that was what Joe was saying. That's why I didn't even think,
So I think that one could kind of be left open, but you put it so that you have, employees, plus residents, plus visitors. So your visitors, depending on how many dwelling units you have, but I think that's something that you would kind of come up with,
that's a tough one.
per application.
Yeah, because like, it made me think of the one, it's the drop-offs. You're gonna have, and I think so that place, like, I didn't even think about it, that the main, where they said they have their proper entry has their spots, but they put a berm up and holds like 10 or 12 other on the other side of it, and that's simply when you're dropping off or picking up, there's not enough, and that's what they use to count for that.
But that's something you guys can review when they do a site plan
Yeah.
and come up with something appropriate.
Now, here's the other thing, is it better to put the numbers big and then negotiate them down
Well,
versus trying to negotiate
that's your
them
maximum.
up? You know what I mean? If let's say you wanted to make that one from 1 to 10, let's just to throw a number out. Is it better for us to have a big number and maximum, let's say, and then work your way down when you're, with someone, or because it's at our discretion at that point, then to take them back and say, yes, we're gonna go over that number?
Well, so according to the first couple of paragraphs, it's to limit
It's the main lot, right?
the limit the lot size to, actual usage, to, reduce water runoff.
Right.
So, that being said, I can see that you're putting a maximum, and again, if the application warrants it, the planning commission has the wherewithal to adjust that number upwards.
You'd almost have to do it individually.
Sure, well,
For instance, my house, if I was
but
to do a daycare at
you wouldn't
mine,
really wanna do it, you
There's a
wanna
rule
have
for it.
guidelines, so this gives you the guidelines. So you don't really wanna have to do it individually, but you wanna be able, you look at it individually, but you don't wanna come up with a number on each one. So you want your guideline number.
no, and the ones that fit into that basic guideline is fine, but you're gonna get the ones that
Sure.
you've gotta work on them to get it to make sense.
Yes, exactly, yeah. Okay,
Alright,
so, something with visitors on the family
Yeah,
daycare.
the visitors,
Banks, financial, I didn't see anything, you guys?
Except it
Okay.
doesn't allow for employees.
Huh?
Doesn't
No
allow for
employees.
employees.
No,
Barber shops either.
but it's, one per 1,000 square feet. So if you go into a bank, so you have a lobby, yeah, I guess.
well,
Well, in the
let's say
barber shop, it's
Lakestone,
one
let's
per
look
service
at-
share.
What is that?
Understood, but we're not the
2,000
barber shops
square
yet, because
feet.
it, the one per service share doesn't make any sense, cause you got a one per service share, where's the employees park?
That's right.
So you gotta have an employee thing. So if it going back to the bank thing,
That could be interesting too, the same thing,
Sure.
it's the visitors, the account for your visitors, it's 3 per, and then you need 1 per employee.
well, okay, so let's say, let's take, Lakestone for instance.
Mhm,
So
that's what I
Lakestone has 3 to 4 tellers all the time, and there's 2 to 3 gals in the offices. So that's 7 plus the lobby, and if they have a signing, then there's usually at least 2 cars for the signing, plus maybe, somebody else, 3 cars. So that could be, what is that, 3, 6, 7, that's like 10 people, 10 cars. So, and I don't know what that is, their lobby can't be over 2,000 square feet.
That's what I was thinking too, exactly.
Oh.
And you got the
But that's a
employee parking
maximum.
on the side, north side.
And they definitely have more parking than
In the
that.
front, yeah, they got at least that many spaces in the front.
Or I think they got 8 around the building, plus they got that in the front.
Or so, yeah,
You know.
yeah.
And I think is there some parking behind? No, there's none behind, it's on the east,
Just the
it's
drive.
on the south side and west side. Okay, so you wanna, but again, if you kinda,
So you wanna take it, well, again, we could use it as the number for the visitors per square foot and just say what per employee.
you wanna do that?
I'm fine with that.
Okay, cool.
You wanna say the same thing for the barber shop, I mean, basically any one of those is accounting for the person plus the operator.
Yeah, because so you've got the, in the barber shop and tattoo parlor, you've got the customer, but nobody's servicing the customer. Unless the employee gave the customer a ride into work.
Yeah. So the first 3 we wanna account for the operators.
Yeah, the employee, yeah, okay. So then funeral homes, civic clubs and organizations.
When was the last time we went to a funeral home with 4 other people?
Right.
So I kinda like how they did that one, so they did it on a maximum building occupancy. So with
Okay, so the
Yeah, so the
occupancy is 90.
occupancy is 33, oh, okay,
Okay, well, let's
keep
make
it
it,
that
let's
simple.
make it less. Okay, let's do it.
66.
So let's say the maximum is 30.
So
We
you
only
have to
allow
have
6
22.
spots. Minimum of 6 spots.
Right.
2 taken by the funeral home director.
I can't tell you the last time I went to a funeral home with 4 people in my car. 30 people, I probably have 20 cars.
I mean, no people.
Well, your age is probably all that. That's my point, it's not enough,
No,
because
no.
you don't go in groups like that to, I get, in theory, most times it isn't at maximum capacity, but there are people that, I mean, quite often, especially in a small town like this, it is.
But again, and it is not allowing for the employees.
Well, but go back even to the max though, so you got, so say there's 66, so then it's gonna be 22 parking spots.
And out of 66 people, you got 45 cars.
Still need the funeral director, the pastor.
Now, we're not gonna hold the actual service part against them on that count. The day of, when you go for a tournament, you're gonna loop and you're gonna have a bigger deal anyways, and that's usually,
But almost
bring
anymore, you
police
only
into-
have one day of viewing.
yeah, so
Which
it's
means
usually
you
one.
also have.
Right, but it's
hours
spread out though.
From
right?
3 to 9.
3 to 9 or some shit, you know.
So at
Yeah,
six,
but
at
that's-
6 o'clock,
You
it's
know,
back.
it's
3
not,
to 8,
it's
and then the
not the
family
normal,
first.
but sometimes there's not very many people there. But sometimes there's,
Or you can, you know, if
you
you
know,
have.
I mean, I've seen it
Yeah.
where there's
Yeah.
standing line,
Yeah.
people have been outside,
Mhm.
for the whole 3 hours.
But I always think like that, you know, you throw the high, the low, and you average everything in between.
Yep, exactly. But I think Becky's right on the minimum isn't adequate. So Christie, what would you like to make the minimum?
Oh, God, I'm not- Well,
I,
well,
like I
maybe,
said,
what,
this
how do
one
we
I
know that
see-
it's not?
Hmm?
Because what's the maximum occupancy? Right, what's did number one say the same thing too? Yeah, based on the maximum building occupancy.
Yeah,
I mean, what's the occupancy even of a small, what
Well-
were we here before they did the addition, the second room? You know, was it 100? Is it 50?
well,
I mean,
it
it's 50,
doesn't,
that's 10
this is a
spots.
percentage type thing, so it doesn't really matter.
But again, if it's 50 and you have 50 people, you're gonna have 35 cars, you're not gonna have 10 cars.
Okay, I'm saying is what is the occupancy of one of these in the first one? What kind of margin are we talking about?
But
You know,
on,
taking someone from 20 spots to 50 spots, I don't see it either.
on,
Or making somebody have 35 slots even.
somewheres in this ordinance, it did say that, and I think it was near the back, that for peak times, you could use on-street parking. So, in your calculation. That surprised the heck out of me, but it was in there.
I'm just, like I said, I'm just looking at a funeral home especially, you're gonna have at least 3 parking spaces that are gonna be taken by funeral director, pastor, might have another employee. So you got 3 right there.
And you probably have hearse. But usually
Well, I
that would
don't know
be,
if that
that'd be
counts
in a
as
garage,
parking, right?
yeah.
So, you know, and if
You're
you're
right.
only allowing 1 for 5
Special
people,
circumstances.
3
that's-
employees take it,
Yeah.
you have no parking for guests.
So, you don't want 5, so how about 3 or 4?
Well, see, we got 3 on one, so that's 4 in the middle.
Well, the
Unless you wanna
the
drop the
next
other
thing
one to
is,
2.
the next thing is we're gonna change the 3,
Yeah, so you wanna drop that one to 2.
so, yeah.
And then you're right, further down it has all the exclusions or things which allows us to do anything we, you know, with all the other neighbors parking and everything can all be
Yes.
accommodated,
Yeah.
so. So you wanna go to 3 and 2?
That's what I got. What do you got, Christie?
Sounds good.
Okay, moving on. Catering facilities. So the only thing that, a catering facility doesn't usually have, people in there, but they're saying required
It says
spaces for
for the
restaurant
restaurant
seating
seating
area.
area.
Well, that's not catering, is it?
I would've thought so.
So that's catering restaurant. So anyway, the only thing I did is plus carryout.
Oh.
So if you're catering, a lot of caterings, you do a carryout.
Alright.
Hey, you know what? That's good.
So I think they're also, they're taking the catering thing and putting it in with halls.
Right.
Restaurant seating area. So someone that cater but also allows you to stay in.
'cause I look at the catering thing as basically an off-site cooking establishment.
That's what I would, yeah.
Well,
And to
but
see
then
where
you
it
also
said
have, like,
restaurants, it didn't make
Subway does
sense.
catering.
You come in and pick
Okay,
it
but
up.
they're,
Right, but you still have to have that extra employee to work into the larger amount
but
of food.
that's not their, that, you wouldn't call Subway a
A
caterer.
catering for, that's true, that's true. But a lot of restaurants do that.
So, but this,
Yeah, but that's, that use wouldn't.
so, okay.
Wasn't you, it was me.
I'm glad I'm not the only one. Man at a loss, go to the dictionary.
Water from
You have some on the carpet.
No, it's not listed. No. Cemetery,
Bit of a catering thing,
yeah. What they're finding is
the
catering.
definition, yeah.
Yeah, okay. So, anyway, what do you wanna do? We've got 35 minutes and 2.5 pages.
You wanna scratch the rate restaurant seating part?
I don't know, let's just leave it and put in plus carryout and move on.
But that was my thing, is it, well, if, yeah, is the restaurant meaning, does it defer to the restaurant part section here for them, it's parking? Or how do you know what the number is?
You wanna have them define catering?
Well, no, you got one per it says one per on-duty employee based on,
And then
so, and plus.
Plus restaurant seating,
Right.
so
But it's
you wanna
restaurant.
change this from restaurant, from catering facilities to restaurant catering?
Well, no, I'm just saying,
No,
does,
'cause
does it mean,
restaurants
does
are-
restaurant seating go to page 9-7, which says restaurants, coffee houses? And is that where the number you get to add to it then? Your catering was your employee, and then if
Sure.
you want restaurant, you have to go to this section and get the other number. And then add them together is your minimum.
But, you know, but
One
the
per
way
five
they
seats.
look at, but I don't think, and they're calling this restaurant, but the way they're talking about this isn't a I don't know, it's a little bit confusing, cause it says restaurant seating area, and then
Yeah, so
where
let's
you
say
go
your
to
caterer.
restaurant, they're talking about square footage
Right.
of usable floor area.
Or seats.
Well, that doesn't make any sense. What makes sense is kind of what they did here with your seating. But if you,
Well, so you have all three.
have you ever been to, did you go to Di Francesco's 5 years ago?
Were they, it would before they moved?
Exactly.
Okay, yes.
Okay. So that was in the
Yeah,
shopping
back
mall,
shop, yeah,
and you were
back
kind of
corner.
like, you were sitting like this.
Yes.
And that was the person at the next table.
Uh-huh.
Yep.
And now, you're at the next table like this. So, your floor area and your seating area are two greatly different things.
Mhm.
So, your seating area, but you could come in for an approval with this and do this.
And do that, correct.
Right, but the dine-in one is gonna give you 1 per 5 seats, based upon the maximum seating capacity. So I would say this one here has 3 potentially. We're saying it's a catering, so you're catering, then you had carry-out with no seating and dine-in with seat. So the carry-out was 1 per 150 square feet, dining in is 1 per 5 seats, and catering is 1 per on-duty employee.
One per 5 seats. And most tables are 4 seats,
Yeah,
so
it says
When
when
one.
you drive in with your one car, you
Yeah,
bring one guy
that's
for the
okay.
next table.
But this statement is here.
Yeah, we don't wanna get ahead of ourselves.
But my thing was, that's where the numbers for anything else in that paragraph have to go to those other sections to get them. And they all add up to the grand total for the minimum and then the maximum.
So how about this? So if it's catering only, let's keep it as catering only to
Yeah.
the restaurant.
That was my thought too.
Okay, so we're getting rid of,
What we're going on here.
so we're getting rid of the, restaurant seating.
Yep.
And forget about the maximum building occupancy. But I'd like to leave the catering, the carryout in the catering thing.
Makes sense.
Oh, what you said to add in.
Right, so for the maximum. So
Right.
yeah, I was gonna add in both plus carryout for both of them.
Okay.
Which then is a number based on per square foot.
And then, I don't know, so it's one per on-duty employee. But in the maximum, you'd have one per on-duty employee, plus, you know, you're gonna have inspectors, you're gonna have insurance guys, you're gonna have clients coming, you're gonna have salespeople coming, you're gonna have other things coming, so in your maximum, I would say that, I don't know what you would wanna do.
What do you do about deliveries?
That's a separate, this is, I don't think this is not deliveries.
Just customer
This is
service?
not deliveries.
Just, yeah, this
Right.
is just.
No, but yeah, delivery is another section though.
Yeah.
Okay.
The loading, unloading
That's
stuff.
where my wife is at the hospital, she's waiting for her daughter to deliver.
Oh, congratulations.
Oh, that wasn't the phone call then?
No, she told me that, we're still in the hold mode. Okay,
Okay.
so what do you think? So it's one per employee, plus carryout on the minimum, maximum, 1.5 per employee, 2 per employee?
I don't get that half a parking space, I just don't.
Well, yeah, I know, but that gives you, so for 2 people, you get an extra
You
parking
get that
place.
extra, right.
Well, that would accommodate for salesmen and.
Exactly, that's what I'm kinda getting at.
Okay. We'll take your half.
So you wanna do that, 1.5, 2, 1.5,
Sure, either one. Okay.
what's that?
Either one's fine.
Yeah, that, me too, I'm,
We'd say 1.5 based on minimizing.
yeah. Okay, hospitals.
Per 2 beds plus 1 per.
And how do you have a half an employee?
Right.
One that doesn't do his full job?
Well, I'm sorry to say
This
it.
means
but
half the people are
that's-
using public transportation or carpooling.
Yeah, but we don't really have too much, although I heard that Armada does have Uber, or Lyft, one or the other,
Uber.
Oh,
Uber comes here.
Mhm.
yeah.
wow.
Okay,
I can't think of what to do with any of those medical ones.
so 1 per 5 beds.
1 per 5 beds, so that means out of 5 people that are staying there, 1 person can visit at a time, is that how I'm looking at it? This is one spot?
Pretty much,
Oh.
yeah. And then it says only a half per
Per
on duty.
employee, right.
Yeah, so
I think for
what
the
do you wanna do with the 5 beds?
I think the 1, 2, 3, 4, those next 4, we get, what's the planner got to say?
Would the nursing home fall into that hospital category?
No,
It's got its own separate?
Yeah, it's its own separate,
They're getting there.
yeah. But yeah, the hospitals, the medical, osteopathic, chiropractic, dental, blah, 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 massage therapist, and there's.
Okay, well,
I'd get with the planner and that knows.
to simplify this,
AIA has anything.
we can spend another hour doing this. Or if you want the planner to redo this one, basically, if you look at all of these things combined, the only thing that I saw was pretty much what we've already talked about, is the staff. So 50% of the things that I've changed were to allow staff.
Right,
Yeah, or it said staff and then allowed no patrons or
Right.
visitors. And
Well, a
then-
lot of them, it's just, it doesn't, you know, so government offices, government office and post office, so that's our office. It says 4 per 1,000 square feet. So this is 1,000 feet, so you've got, 4 people already in the office, so you've got no place else for anyone to park.
right.
So, and then you've got a meeting room attached to that, I don't
they're walking.
see any of that, so.
Yeah, agreed.
So that was a perfect thing for staff, but the, I made the, I upped the 4 too. Anyway,
Does any of the parking, you know, like the capacity of the room, to have anything to do with like fire capacity? Would it reflect any of that?
no, no. Fire capacity is maximum capacity, so capacity is capacity.
Okay.
So, and usually I think capacity does go by what the fire marshal says, if I'm not mistaken. Unless you're in an Otis elevator. Or somebody else's elevator. Other than made by Mr. Otis. So, okay, so, how about this?
So I think we can get to the planning to figure out.
So we don't spend a whole lot of time with this one. Did you guys go through and mark up your book?
Here,
I mean, have you really gone through this and done it?
No, cause like, remember I told you, on this section here, I kinda went with it in the first place, cause I was, you know, the planners that they have,
Okay.
either the, was it AIAA or whatever, so it's the American
I-
Institute
I
of
recommend
Architects,
that we
has
Well,
the numbers written down in,
how about
or,
we let Becky scan my book, email it to you, to give you kind of the gist that what I got going here, and if we agree, then this will just be a guideline to give the planner.
it's fine.
Okay?
Plus, I agree with what you, where it didn't allow for employees or other functions, then you add them. Where it did, were allowed for an employee but not a visitor, you gotta add it as well. I'm good with that.
Exactly, and that's pretty much it. I mean,
And,
I increased, some of the stuff was floor space, like I just pointed out on the village office. I mean, I think this, if you go to a township hall meeting or a village meeting, planning commission meetings, nobody comes. But sometimes the village I mean,
yeah,
once in a while,
when you're
you
gonna
know.
get an update, a master plan update and
Yeah.
change,
Somebody
the
comes,
ordinance
but
update, okay.
village council meetings, it's not that uncommon that there's,
Oh, yeah.
all the chairs are full, you know, standing room. Okay, so let's skip right into page 9. Oh, one thing, so going back to page 9-8. So the very,
Last two.
last thing is circuses, fairs, carnivals, and civil releases. So, in retrospect, we said there's no fairs. We really can't do that, because we do have a fair. So we can't say there's no fair, and so the carnivals and stuff, so we really need to revisit that.
Were we trying to
Oh,
say
we
there
did,
wasn't?
this was in
Or
our,
did I miss one, or?
yeah, you might not have been here. If you were
Okay.
here, we probably wouldn't have done it, but who knows?
We said delete.
Yeah.
Oh, out of the, okay,
So
yeah,
this
you're right, I
is the
wasn't,
table
when
of
you did table
uses.
4, yeah, in section 4 or whatever that was.
Yeah.
I was not here for that.
So, they do reference a little bit once in a while. So we were with that
Circus,
one.
fairs, carnival,
So that's.
yeah. We used to have all of the above.
Community
Also
uses,
temporary, it's the last one,
huh?
temporary.
Okay, so we got rid of that, but we really need to, and we said we did that because most of those people go to council and don't come to us. But that doesn't mean it shouldn't be in the ordinance.
Council needs a guideline.
Hmm?
Council needs a guideline, even if they do just have to.
And they don't have and it's not in the code of
No,
ordinances.
they sure didn't have one for Main Street. Oops, sorry.
Yeah. And it's not in the code of ordinances.
I don't know, is it?
Not that I'm aware of.
Because if it is, then it's an easy one to get rid of, because they don't want to.
Unfortunately, I've read it much more than I'd like to say I've read it.
Yeah, I've never been
Remember
that
one
bored.
time I did too,
No,
the
it's not
books,
that bored, I have
the
to be able to
volumes.
answer your questions.
Somebody told me once when I first started getting on planning, and I asked about rules of presenting a meeting, and they said, well, read Robert's rules if you're ever
yeah.
really bored.
Mhm.
I'd be really bored.
Yeah, so, I got the Cliff's Notes version. Okay, so, I think we should redo that. So, I'm gonna task our,
I put revisit on there.
yeah, okay,
So 9-9.
so 9-9, yeah, 9-9, where's 9-9? Sure. Okay, so, now we're into, barrier-free, I was kinda okay with that.
Yep.
Everything down to, curbing
Yeah. Oh.
and landscape areas. So they're asking for concrete curbs and gutters to be on everything.
Right.
I just wanna put that can be modified by PC.
Yep.
And I don't want it to be in the back, I want it to be right there.
Yep, I'm fine with that. I thought the same thing too, because how many have we did and we haven't,
Nah.
we haven't made them do
Correct.
that, so.
And a lot of times, what we're trying to do with water runoff is, you're taking
You're
that, you
promoting
don't
it.
want to curb, so that you can take that and put it into a green area and disperse that water, rather than put it into a drain. So sometimes, planning commission does have common sense. Okay. So then the other one, is G, sidewalks.
Yep.
So they got a 7 foot where it's,
Mhm.
on a major street. We had this discussion, before, and the only thing I'd like to do is put in if applicable.
Yeah. Oh.
And the only thing I would like to say, because you guys all looked at me like I had sprouted horns when I said to make any new sidewalks wider, how stupid it would look next to the narrow ones.
Mhm.
Macomb Township is currently doing that. They're adding all new sidewalks, well, not all new sidewalks, but they're adding sidewalks for the safe route to schools. And where they're butting up to an existing sidewalk, they have one flag that tapers into the other one, and it does not look stupid. No, it doesn't. And there, Macomb Township has a lot of areas that have old sidewalks,
Yeah,
but,
with the old and new.
and then they have to put in the new, so it really doesn't look as big.
Wow, I gotta take your hand.
But
Wow, yeah.
it actually looks, to me, it makes more sense to require the wider sidewalk if you're going to allow somebody to put in new sidewalk. They're replacing their existing sidewalk, that's one thing, if it's cracked or broken, but if they're adding new sidewalk where sidewalk didn't exist, they should be required to make it wider and taper it into the
So that you're building for the future with the new construction.
correct.
Makes sense.
Mhm. What do you think about 7 feet instead of 5?
I don't know. 7 feet's pretty wide.
It's wide.
Why does it say vehicle encroachment?
Cases
Parking
where
spaces
directly
on what
abut the
side?
sidewalk. So
Vehicle
it gives you extra
encroachment is,
distance in case someone
So that the
jumps into
sidewalk
the
is
line.
still clear. No.
right, it's
So
where
that
the
it
car goes
Yes,
out
so
over,
the car
the
goes
nose of
over
the
it.
car
Yeah,
goes
it's
over the
exactly
sidewalk.
into the
So
sidewalk.
then it allows, so I wouldn't make it 5 feet.
So, yeah.
Well, but, yeah, so that would make it 5 foot, but that's, see, the way they got this worded, and that's why I wanted if applicable. So they're saying that you can, if you perpendicular perpendicular park on the sidewalk, so that's a 7 foot. But if you parallel park on the sidewalk, the way this reads, you still have to have 7 foot.
Well, I'll tell you, up front here, there isn't anybody that parks in the parking spot, their tires are all on the sidewalk. So you need the width to accommodate to still keep the sidewalk clear, even on parallel parking.
Well, just because we have people that don't know how to park.
A lot of people that don't know how to park.
People. Most of the people.
Cause the most of them are on the sidewalk, I mean way on the
Seriously,
sidewalk.
I mean, their tires, they're,
Yep.
whichever way they're facing, those two tires are on the sidewalk. I would bet you if I took the time, cause I had nothing else to do, and counted the vehicles during the day, it would be
So
higher.
you just need yourself a photo sensor.
See, that's where parking insurance could come in.
I don't disagree there.
Okay,
So
so what are we saying about if applicable?
that one gives us latitude.
Yeah, I
Sure,
agree.
it's
I
fine.
agree.
Okay, all right, okay. Because if you did do a parking curb, then now you can do a parking curb so you don't encroach. Okay, I don't have anything, until near the end, but, illustrious recording secretary does. So no parking in the front yards, so, we don't allow parking in front yards, but, many people do.
And no parking shall on lawns or other unpaved areas of a residential lot.
A lot of people do.
Oh, yeah, well, we had that discussion months ago, I did that driver, and
I did that too, for the
I
next 5
think-
days that I drove to work, I
think-
went down a different street.
there was a half a dozen easy, just on my straight line in, so.
Well,
I
like,
left the first one, I said,
I do it because I have a 1 car wide driveway, and if you have to switch vehicles, can't put one out in the street, jump out of your car, run back into
Well,
your
you have no
driveway.
parking on your street now.
Right, that's what
you
I'm saying, you have
lost
to
your,
put it
you
right
lost
into
your
the street.
parking on the street, yeah.
So, I have to park on the grass to switch the vehicles and then put them back in the driveway.
But I get the principle behind it, that it's just what's the enforcement of it,
Well,
you know?
while you're moving your vehicles is one thing. If you put the one on the grass and drove the other one to work and left the one on the grass, that's the problem. That's where everybody, I mean, there was one house that had 4 vehicles parked on unpaved parts of their yard.
So that's where you come in to having the required minimum of the parking requirement per house. So that doesn't happen. Cause no matter the person that built the house has only got 1 car, so he only wants 1. But now he sold the house, and now that was a single retired guy with no family. Now the next person that moves in there, but he built a 3-bedroom house. Next person that moves in with a wife, a husband, and a teenage kid. So he's got 3 cars, plus they're old enough, they're comfortable, so they've got some type of
RV?
second car. Yeah. So now they got 4 vehicles and 3 people. So that was the intent of the minimum.
Okay.
So, but, okay, so what do we do with the parking in the yard? How about we say somehow
We got it, but we're just not enforcing it right now.
how about we say that, if we make it so that anything new has to have the parking standards, parking in the front yard, I don't know. My thing was, I don't know, you guys come up with something.
But anyway, it says, and no parking shall be permitted on lawns or other unpaved areas of a residential lot, so it's not just, it says there's no parking anywhere other than on an improved, part of the property.
Well, that says
And actually,
unpaved,
you
we
really
have
don't want
houses
that.
that have gravel driveways.
I do.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say that says you can't park on anything that's unpaved, you can't even park in your own driveway.
Well, in here too,
Well,
I
no, paving.
did say that, it says that,
Hard
it's
surface.
the paving, but
Gravel.
I did the gravel
Yeah,
stuff,
gravel,
cause
rock.
we're allowing gravel everywhere anyway, so why not?
Yeah.
I mean, one of my parking places at home is gravel, but I have a concrete driveway. So I think anything that's a permanent parking area should have some type of either pavement or gravel.
That's a good term.
And if it's, I think that's what we should list. I would say, somehow I think we should say that, parking is not allowed in the front yards, but again, let it go to the planning commission's discretion if there's something, that warrants,
Well, we already have this, I was fine leaving it alone. It's on us anyways, and on top of that, we're not enforcing it regardless. Yeah, so what my first thought was to get rid of it, right?
So
It's
that-
happening all over, because we're not doing anything about it. Yeah.
okay.
So my first thought was
take that one.
as X the whole thing out, because again, and as Jeff, are you willing to fight, step up on this one on a every Thursday basis?
So there was another one here that says that your driveway can only be as wide as your garage doors.
Yeah, but look what it said the garage door width was too.
What's that?
12 feet,
Yeah,
not 16. Either, I mean, too, it's, shall not
Well, it says
exceed.
or total width of all accessory garage doors,
yeah,
so 12 feet, or if you
Yeah.
have larger doors.
yeah, or more doors, yeah, so.
Now, just like on my garage, does that,
Yeah,
it has the side,
So that's multiples, that's
so
multiple doors.
it counts?
Sure, counts.
Okay.
Yeah. Didn't really, yeah.
but if it's the same.
So, but I think you should have, like, I've got a 2-car garage, and I have a parking area next to the garage, that's gravel.
Mhm.
And I don't think that I should just be able to park in front of the garage. So that's what they're saying, that's what this ordinance says.
Is that you can only be in front of the garage.
Right.
You can only be as wide as garage, and I agree with you, I disagree. Even, and I get it, my house is different, my garage is so wide, but my driveway extends 4 feet on either side of my garage, and then, that tapers down to the
Mhm.
apron, so.
But I think you should be allowed to park alongside the garage, especially if you have an RV or you have teenagers or something, or.
Yeah, exactly, I'm finding again, and then the idea is that the surface, you want the surface to be prepared though.
Exactly,
Yeah, I'm fine with
sure,
that.
yeah,
Mhm.
yeah.
And then, like I said, Becky, I was kind of with you with that too, and although most, like, when I was thinking, that's one of the freedom for my house to do was, I went wide because that's your loading and unloading, right? When you open the door, especially in the first step, you don't want to be in the snowbank.
Right.
You give yourself 2 to 3 feet to open the door, get out and close it, and you can walk around it. So we're allowing full width, at least full width of the garage
Exactly.
structure, period.
Yeah.
And then, yes, and a prepared surface for other additional, that's, works for me.
Yeah, because many garages have your overhead doors, plus you have a walk-in door, and you're not gonna have, not concrete to your walk-in door.
Right.
You're gonna do the whole width of the garage. So, I mean. Okay. So, do we have a consensus there?
What was the consent, what's the first part on the front, the second part, yes, what's our consensus on the first part?
I was looking at Becky to find out if she had something written down.
No, I didn't write anything down.
Write it down for the front yard?
No, I don't think it should be allowed in the front yard, it makes it.
I'm good with that too.
Yeah.
I agree with you.
Yeah, okay.
But
so
what about
we're-
the second part of it is
Yeah.
no parking on lawns or other unpaved areas?
Yeah,
I don't think you should get rid of that, you don't want people
And I'm-
parking
And I was fine with that,
Well-
but again,
okay.
Okay, so here, how about this? So we're not gonna allow the front yard, but there is a discretionary thing there.
Well, we're gonna allow one spot in the front yard, we're not gonna allow any in the front yard. It says not more than one parking space
In the front yard,
in the front yard.
okay, but so, but then they're saying something about grass and stuff, so all parking areas need to either be paved or gravelled.
yeah, they have to be improved.
So they all have to be improved parking spot.
Mhm.
And you can go the.
Just pave your entire parcel. Have lots of parking, especially if you live by the
So,
fairgrounds.
and you can pave or whatever you're gonna do over the whole entire width, the face of your garage, and have parking alongside the garage.
Yep. It's fine.
If your site
Can support it.
warrants the expansion.
Well, yeah, I can support it.
Yeah. Got something?
Yeah.
Okay, I trust you. Okay, so now we're into section 9.07. So off-street loading. I really didn't do anything with this other than, do you guys really think we're gonna have between 300 and 500,000 square foot buildings?
Oh, God.
Or wait a minute, it says over
Over
500,000.
Over
500,000.
Yeah, between 300 and over 500,000.
Yeah, just in case, you never know.
I just got rid of the two. I mean, why let it take up space? I'm not even sure we'll ever have 100,000 square foot building. But,
You wanna get rid of the last two then, okay? I mean, sure.
yeah, just get
They
rid of
can always
those
be
two.
added back in when we
Yeah.
get, when our made us a large city.
Right.
So,
When we grow.
okay, we're almost done with 9. So, okay, so this is part of the stuff that I said that we could, modifications of standards.
Yep.
Special circumstances,
Right.
under the following circumstance, planning commission may permit alternative means other than the construction of private off-street parking or loading facilities, complying with the parking or loading requirements of this article. So, existing off-street parking and loading spaces on the lot can be effectively accommodate the parking, anyway, you guys can read. So
Yep.
anyway, then surface materials, we need to put in gravel. So it says porous concrete or asphalt or other methods increasing stormwater infiltration. So,
We might add a couple more in there, like the, was it gravel and, what's the other stuff called that they use?
well, they've got brick pavers in here somewheres and stuff like that. Oh, open joint pavers, porous, but I really like the gravel thing to be mentioned.
Sure. I was thinking gravel, what's the rock one called?
Aggregate.
Compacted.
No, there's, cause I actually had a company come in and do it in, for around my fire pit.
Like what they did out on Bell River
It's
Road,
just
right?
stone.
Yeah, but it like compacts into,
It can-
it becomes almost like a pavement.
It can't, well, yes, but that's, yes, if you add the mix to it,
Right.
yes, correct. Otherwise, yes, it just stays the stone.
Okay.
Again, my travels up north, that's the majority of
That's
yards
nice
putting
stuff,
it. There's
yeah.
a name for this, it's like dolomite or something like that,
Something,
it's
yeah.
called.
It's nice
So
stuff.
anyway, I was just gonna say, give two eggs, cause that stone one is very.
Okay, so
common.
rather than gravel,
I'd
let's,
say both, I wouldn't say that.
well, let's
Yeah,
just
that
say
and more.
a stone base.
Sure.
So that would,
If you consider gravel would fit in that one, then fine.
sure, yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Cause you could even do, asphalt millings, but that's still a stone base.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's stone in it,
Cause asphalt millings make a
yeah. Like ground up.
great driveway. Great cheap, okay. Cool, I like how we sped this up. So now we're in Article 10. So access management. Oh, the only okay, so I'm sorry, I lost something. So way back, on 9:10, so, it says that you can only have one driveway opening to the road. So in most instances, that's okay. But if you had a corner lot, or you had a much larger lot, and you wanted a horseshoe driveway, I don't see why you couldn't do it.
Well, that's in this section coming up.
Hold on, where is
Access
it?
per parcel,
Yeah,
That's what?
that's in section 10,
Yeah,
one access per parcel.
right,
Oh, yeah, I was gonna say, I thought that.
10-2.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it does not allow two unless you have 300-foot frontage.
Yeah, but, okay, so, but again, I'm going back to 9, it says, 9I, the second paragraph, not more than one parking place may be provided on driveway within front yard, okay, yeah, I'm sorry.
Yeah, and a maximum of one accessory driveway.
Oh, yeah, maximum of one accessory driveway, I knew it was in there somewhere, per dwelling, so it really needs to be here too.
Where are we at?
So what Ben is saying is I under 9 is basically giving you 2 driveways, and
No,
whereas
it's giving you
No, it's giving you
plus
one.
an accessory.
No, a
No.
maximum of one accessory driveway means you can only have one driveway.
That's
Access,
accessory.
not, yeah, accessory, so it's
is
an
addition.
Allowing you
access,
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 that's all.
yeah.
So, yeah, it's not giving you a
It doesn't
driveway
mean
and
another one, it
and
just
an
means
additional.
after access.
Because I was, accessory
ingress.
was in addition to.
Yeah,
No,
no,
I'm
Like we
not
give you
reading
the
it that way.
accessory structure, it was
Yeah,
an
no.
additional structure.
no,
Yeah,
no. Mm.
Hmm.
so for the most part, I think that would, so we could leave it alone, because it's probably gonna be a rarity that it happens.
You already have many that are like that, and they're not supposed to be.
It's the corners,
The corner and a horseshoe drive,
because I'd love to have an extra one too.
yeah.
That sucks.
So, I mean, we could
But there are
easily
plenty
put that
that
in,
do.
if it's a corner lot, you're allowed, if the property fits, you're allowed to have that, cause if you had
You're
your,
already giving them
if
2
you had
front
your
yards.
house, so your garage was on the corner side of the lot, then it would be easy to have a driveway off of each street.
Mhm.
And since if it's a residential district, it's not a traffic thing. But if your driveway is on the other, or your garage is on the other side of the house, I don't think that would, you're not gonna put a driveway in front of your house. No, across the front of your house, across the front,
You could do it across the back.
huh?
You could do it across the back.
If your garage, yeah,
It would
but
have
then
to
you'd
be-
have,
Yeah,
yeah, you'd have to have an entrance to your garage from the back that way. I don't see that, I don't see you'd want a driveway through your backyard.
I do, when I take my camper out, on the other side street. Pull it in from the main street, drive it right out on the side street. Backing up is not my thing.
Yeah. So anyway, so I don't think we need to do this for the odd things that we're doing, like I think it's more like the mainstay, but I just, I would like it maybe,
see, I think the thing too.
a corner lot or large lots
Yeah,
could, you could,
as long as.
upon review,
Well, I mean, even then, those are fine, but it's where you, what road or what you're accessing from. Like I said, if you're coming on Fulton and then they want, that's a traffic impact, that's
Sure.
important.
Yep.
You're on Lathrop,
yeah,
it doesn't matter.
right.
What do you get the 300 feet?
Because actually, I do know somebody that had 2 driveways, and it was on Depot and Church. Across from Terry, what's Terry's
Rooney.
last? Rooney, that's from Terry Rooney.
They have two?
Mhm.
Well, folks
So
right
that
across
house
the
on the
street from me
corner
have
is,
two.
had a driveway,
Yeah, one on the
Yeah, two
back side
driveways.
of the lot.
yeah. And their garage was kinda like I said, so it was on the, it was on the corner side.
Well, since you're saying about planning commission review, in the next section, parent parcels with more than 300 feet of frontage on a public street shall also meet requirements, blah, 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 blah.
But 300 foot of frontage is a lot.
Unless the
That's 2 or
village
3
planning
lots.
commission determines after reviewing a traffic impact study and analysis prepared by registered traffic engineer, the topographic blah, 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 necessitate a second driveway within a lesser distance. So it kinda already gives you permission to do that here.
With the traffic study.
Yeah.
Oh,
I
without
haven't
that
done with the
stuff.
fucking traffic study.
And still have the 300-foot frontage?
Well, I like the
No,
idea of
if you
it,
have
I
one.
like the idea of the traffic study, if you're like driveway
Within
on
a
major
residential
streets or something like that,
Yeah.
that's fine, I agree with that, but
Yeah.
I think that's on our
On a
secondary
residential
collective
street, I don't know.
residential.
Even
So,
on
I-
Main Street, I think it's
okay.
a good idea.
Let-
Yeah, I
let-
agree with me, yeah.
Because you
collect-
could come in and drive forward out, rather than trying to back out
I
into
like that.
traffic. Yeah, I think it could be an advantage.
How wide is a driveway? A normal driveway?
12 foot.
Just
8
12.
to 12 foot.
So you're gonna require 70-foot frontage,
Well,
sometimes
ours are
24.
16.
Well, even 16,
So,
I mean, it's
but
still
sure.
usually
What's
20.
yours?
Huh?
Mine's
What's
10.
our front yard? It's up
Ten.
to
What?
Cause you ain't big enough.
20.
Yeah, mine's 10.
20
You got a
feet.
puny driveway.
She
In the
does.
driveway.
It's horrible.
20 feet.
No parking out front.
Yeah.
Cars gotta go on
No.
grass.
Tell them move down one. Okay, so what about, page 9, 10? So we doing something there or not?
Mhm.
The only thing I'll say is if you make a lot of these, planning commission review, you're making enforcement of the ordinance very hard.
Well, I don't think so. How so?
Well, okay, so say Dennis,
Because
you
you
know,
pick and choose, or?
well, you are picking and choosing, but then it's too hard for somebody to say, well, why can't I have a
Because they-
horseshoe
Oh,
driveway?
well, that's why I want it stipulated right here. So, so I'd like to, so that this isn't just by planning commission review. This is, I'd like it so that if you have a corner lot and it's big enough to have the 2 driveways and it's not on the main street,
Mhm.
if it could be allowed if the property warrants that expansion. Somehow worded in better than I just said. So it would give a builder the option to make a nicer house on the corner just so that he could have some more access to that house. And somebody might, who was a car-orientated family, say, well, this is what we need. And looking at some of the high
Well,
dollar
my case,
houses that
it's
have
3
7 and
vehicles off
8
the
car
street, 3 to
garages.
4 off the street,
Yeah.
so.
Okay, so are we good
So
with that
second
one?
drive or circular drive? Yeah.
Well, we could put that in there too if you'd like.
No, I just, well, it's all notes that will go with the plan, but I just put question mark allowed, corner lot, not a main street, big enough lot. And let him tell us yes, no, why that would be a good or bad idea.
Okay, so
I
what
don't
about
think a main
circular
street
drive
should make
on
any
a
difference.
large lot?
Yeah, but I think
I don't think
those,
so
if
either.
it's the other ones, they don't need to come to plan, if it's one of those 2, you do it, if it's
Correct.
anything else, you got, planning's gonna help you with it.
Yes, that's why I like it in there, so that they really, so Dennis doesn't have to send it to planning, it's in the ordinance, and it would be allowed.
Why would a main
Why-
street make
why
a
Main
difference?
Street?
Excuse me?
Why, what
That's your
difference does it
traffic
make
impact.
on or off of Main Street?
The traffic study.
That's your traffic, yeah.
But it makes
So if it's
access
on
in and
Main
out.
Street, it'd have to have the traffic study. If it's on a side street,
Oh, so you're saying they still could
correct,
after a traffic study?
Yes.
correct,
That
yes.
still doesn't make sense to me. because with a double driveway, like, my neighbor across the street, she has
You're
the,
on a main street,
I'm on Main Street.
you're on a main.
She can get in and out of hers quicker and easier than I can, sitting there waiting to back up and watching for traffic. She's nosed right out. She can pull right out. Easier, cleaner, safer. So I don't think a main street should make any difference.
Well,
That's the only traffic.
That's your
impact.
opinion and you're running the camera.
I'm just a camera guy.
She's still pushing for the horseshoe in the backyard.
Well, yeah, I mean, your lot is totally non-compliant anyway,
Right.
so. But I think the thing to do with the traffic study is warranted, so like sometimes you wouldn't need it, other times I think you would. So, I think it's better that you put it in there than not put it in there. Okay, so we're moving on again, we're going back to 10-2. 10-2, because we passed 10-1, correct? I didn't have anything on first page
No, I
of 10, did you?
No, we talked about the access already, so. yeah.
Right.
Yeah, okay, so. So, the only thing I did on, 10-2 was, number 2 near the bottom of the page, C2. It says shared driveways or service drives are encouraged. So, we did that on 12th Street, so I just kinda wanted to bring that up. So, that's it. Okay, so I'm done with 10. What about you guys?
I'm good.
I would like to reduce paper, so I'd like to say, tell the planner wherever we can reduce wording, I'd like to do so. What do you think?
Sounds good.
Kind of when I also talked to the planner about just the format of the book, so these are spiral bound. It's great when they're brand new and you don't have anything in it. I want the new ones to be binder, in a binder, so we can take sections out and put new sections in.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty well punched.
Yeah, okay, so did anybody do, is it, that clock's not right,
No, it's 9:30.
9:30.
9:30, okay, so it's 2 hours, let's go home.
Oh, wait, we're not done.
Public comments?
Oh, yeah, okay, public comment, thank you very much, we'll take that under advisement.
We've heard enough from the public.
Share. Yeah, the public.
Yeah, the camera guy's got nothing.
As the daughter says to her mom.
And the mom says payback's hell.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I forgot I rode with you, didn't I?
Okay, so that's where the half comes in. Okay, chair report. So I really don't have anything to report other than I did, meet with, one of the applicants about his, what he was doing, and I predominantly do that sometimes to streamline their application and, process in getting ready for this meeting. Okay, so, that being said, there's only one other thing. So I said something about, so we're doing this, but we need to spend money to do this. I went to a council meeting, and found out that we do have money in our planning commission budget from prior year funds. So, I will write a letter and have it to council for their next meeting, so that we can start spending money. I think we have roughly $6,300. So,
I don't know that that's all usable.
What's that?
I don't know that that's all usable, but we'll look into it.
Okay, well, according to the auditor, it is. So, I'm just going by what the auditor said. Anyway, so I'll have that for council's next meeting, and what I have in front of me is it's a bank payment on the loan for the DDA. It's in the amount of $26,341.25, and it went to the Bank of New York Mellon. And
That's it.
that's it?
That's just.
Oh, that's all goes with that? Okay.
We didn't need
Anybody
a
wanna see
DDA
that?
meeting, did we, for that?
No,
No,
'cause
because
you
we
approved
set it
that.
out.
We approved it, I know we approved
That
it,
budget.
we don't have
Yeah.
to have it this, okay.
No,
No,
we
because
just-
that budget, we approved that the bills could be paid
Could
as
pay.
they come out.
Yeah,
And
so
that
this is just that.
that was all
that budget's
One
for.
bill that came in and we paid it.
Yeah.
Okay. So that was my chair report, and, so now we're gonna do section 11 and, 11 is only 8 pages, 12 is, how about 11 and 12? The next one would be 13, which is signed, which we already did, but we've been asked to do something with signs, and I don't know what it is. I can't remember. Do you? So how about 11 and 12 for next time,
Alright,
okay? So this is to the, November. You guys wanna have a meeting in December? Why would I even ask you?
Silly guy.
So if there's no applicants, do you wanna have a meeting?
no,
Okay, no applicants, we don't have a meeting, but then we need to have one in January, because we'll need to elect officers. And if there's not gonna be a meeting in December, is anybody's term up?
Somebody's term is always up. But Michelle will contact them, that's fine.
Okay.
She'll just send them our call.
One other thing, so I've been asked to ask the planning commission, Christie, if anybody would like to be on the zoning board of appeals as a liaison.
Why is that pointed directly at me?
No man on the totem pole?
No, we have a new member.
Oh, yeah, Larry, I forgot about him.
Right.
Yeah, that would not be the last one, I know.
I'll look into that.
It means.
So it'd be very good to have somebody, Paul Shoemaker was on planning and was also the chair of the ZBA. So it's really nice for the ZBA to have a liaison from planning, because some of half the stuff that goes to ZBA comes from planning. So I went to the last ZBA meeting, it was over the dog kennel thing, and they started all over again doing the planning commission stuff. So they really shouldn't have done that, and I kind of stopped them, but they were already way into it, and so it is good to have somebody there with the background.
And they don't leave the place.
Yes.
Correct, well, they meet on demand.
There was a period we didn't meet for
One
4
year they
years.
didn't even meet.
Well, for 4 years we didn't meet,
Oh, okay, stand corrected.
so.
Okay.
So okay, so then just,
You'll have to go in and get sworn in
Wednesday,
by
when you come in,
Yes.
Michelle.
just write a little note up to Michelle that
Would be interested.
you're interested in being the planning commission liaison to the ZBA so that they can go to council.
so, but then that being said, so that, cause somebody's gonna get off now, so, and there's a vacant seat. So there is a vacant seat for our viewing audience, on the ZBA, so, there's 5, it's a 5-member board, and, with Christie, that would make 4, so there's still one more needed, okay. Motion?
Motion to adjourn at 9:36 PM?
second.
All in favor?